Well, the big, beautiful bill passes the House. Now it has to pass the Senate. We want to look and see what the market thinks about the passing of this. So are we going to look at, is the big, beautiful bill, Trump's bill, good or bad? Absolutely not. That is outside of the scope of this video. But we are going to look at what big money believes, because that is what's likely to impact the market. And I really like to check in with these guys at the All In podcast. I'm going to put some links in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. And they are 4 people that are heavily in the markets, really billionaires, moving money around in all kinds of different ways. But it is important and key to know. Forget about what people say. Look what they do with their money, right? Show me the money, and that gives you a good indication of what the market believes about the big, beautiful bill and whether it's going to be inflationary and what's going to happen as we go forward through 2025. So without further ado, I'm going to let you listen to Chamath Papaptiya from the All In podcast. Now I'll give you my opinion on what we're likely to see here in Central Florida.
I think we have to be careful here. So Jason, the political calculus will be for the president to decide how much credit he actually wants to take for this bill. Because even though it has his name on it, the contents of the bill are different in actual facts than what I think he intended. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is when you look inside of what happened in the 11th hour last night, it's disappointing. This thing is like anti-Doge. If Doge was meant to be a reflection of the American voting population's desire for meaningful reform in government, cost controls, some form of austerity, and to get this debt spiral in check, this is the opposite of that. What happened was, in the 11th hour, you had a handful of people abstain. You had one person that passed away in the last few days. You had one person that fell asleep on the floor of the House, so he wasn't even woken up for the vote. And in the middle of all of that chaos, what happened was all kinds of things were added and attached and canceled at the last minute. Because what happens is you have to have these puts and takes, as Freeberg described. If you want to spend over here, you have to find a cut over there. But I think what happened was there was really not a lot of financial literacy used to decide what to actually put in and what to cut. And that lack of discipline is going to create, I think, a negative set of consequences. So what are those consequences? Today, the 10-year is around 4.5%. At the rate in which it's escalating since Liberation Day, by the end of this year, we're going to be past 5%. The 30-year is on a rate now to get past 6.25%, maybe even reach 6.5%. Those are way beyond what most people thought was a reasonable place to be for the United States economy. And so what will the implications be as rates go to those levels? You'll de-lever from the United States. You'll sell U.S. debt. You'll own things like gold and Bitcoin. If you're curious about what's happening to gold and Bitcoin, they started to spike in the last few days. You'll have ratings organizations that add to this cascade by downgrading the United States. That happened on Friday. You'll have very smart people starting to signal that this is a much harder problem than they initially thought. That's how I personally interpreted Elon's comments over the last few days.
So again, this is not to say whether the big, beautiful bill is good or bad. That's going to depend on your side of the aisle and what you believe. But we want to look at it strictly by the data. What does the market believe that the Fed will do, and how will that impact mortgage rates? And the answer is, so when we look at the 10-year Treasury yields, this is what they're talking about. 10-year Treasury yields have been going up. This means rates are getting higher. And when we look at rates, we are back over 7% for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Remember, everybody's rate's different, but the trend is definitely up, right? We are getting higher rates. And why is that? Is because when we look at the Fed tracker here, the market believes this is 95% chance that the Fed won't cut rates. So they're basically only pricing in a 5% chance of the Fed cutting rates in the next meeting. When we look in July, only a 25% chance that the Fed will cut rates. We have to get all the way to September, where there's a 60% chance that the market believes the Fed will likely cut the Fed funds rate. And then we've got October. We have no meeting in November and really not even one in August. So we have 5 federal fund meetings till the end of the year. Maybe 1 rate cut. There was a time we were pricing in like 3, 4, or 5 rate cuts. I predicted rates to be at 6.375 by the end of the year, and we are definitely not on track for that. So I think rates could likely or will likely be higher for longer. I mean, they will be a little lower. We'll see how much. But at the same time, look at total existing home sales. You want to see where this is showing up. It's not showing up in home prices. It's showing up in existing home sales as far as demand. So demand destruction is where we just have this demand going down and down and down. We were at 6.5 million. We're likely going to, and this was, back during the boom when rates were 2-3%, but we should at least be at 5.5 million. We are probably going to dip sub 4 million this year, which is going to put us way under where the predictions were. And at the same time, we look at median home price sales. Median price staying pretty strong. I mean, the market is definitely getting softer. And if you're a real estate agent, you know that there's less offers out there. But when a house is priced right and in the right area, it's going fast, sometimes even still with multiple offers. So the market is definitely slowing down as far as demand, but prices still staying resilient. And what are the big dogs? Let's look at Zillow, what they're predicting for home level home price change between April 2025 and April 2026. Red means a decline, blue means increase, appreciation. Pretty much the whole US, 0 to just a little bit orange, showing that a little bit of price, correction could happen. If we zoom into Florida and we just go look at Orlando here, we're showing 1.1% decline in the 12-month forecast. Again, median price staying about where it's at, sellers more flexible, doing a lot more, and demand dropping because payments are higher and rates are higher. That just keeps people on the sidelines. Now, there are special programs coming out like Hometown Heroes potentially this summer, and that could create some demand. But again, you understand why. Hometown Heroes, less rates, incentives, that drives people to get in the market. So it's going to be an interesting end of the year. I would say what should you be doubling down on is not worrying about the market, because the market is the market. What makes you authentic? Where are you different? How do you get business? And how do you make sure you rinse and repeat on that all the time? With AI and technology, process is going to become less important. You're going to have to streamline your process. And what are the things that make you authentic, right? What are the things that you do as a real estate agent, as a mortgage professional, whatever industry you're into, set yourself apart. And those are the things that are going to become extremely valuable through this year, next year, and the future, where technology takes some process off the plate for almost every business. So it's definitely going to be an interesting ride this year with tariffs, the big, beautiful bill. We'll see if the Senate makes any changes. We'll see what the Fed prices in. And all this is subject to change very, very quickly, as you've seen this year. So we shall see. We're going to track all this information. As more information becomes available that moves the market, we're going to cover it right here. Have a great day, a great week. Talk to you soon.